Okay, I'm giving you this explanation because when people start teaching on pre-sessional, you get lots and lots of different exercises, and I'm sure lots of you sit there thinking, what's the point of all of this rubbish? Why are we doing this? Believe it or not, everything that you do on this course is actually underpinned by some kind of academic theory, which I'm going to try and explain to you in the next few minutes. Right, so if you're interested in this, keep watching. If this is already boring the living daylights out of you, then feel free to skip it and you can carry on with planning your lessons. But if you keep watching, I'll explain how theory fits into this course, and maybe you'll understand why we're doing some of the exercises we're doing. Every time you teach something in the classroom, it's probably underpinned by academic theory. Now, you may not realise this because maybe you're teaching out of a textbook or you're using somebody else's materials, but hopefully whoever wrote those materials has had a look at academic theory, and I'm sure just about all textbooks are underpinned by academic theory. I try and do this on pre-sessional. Right, so my background, before I came to USW, I was working in London. I was working for a London university, and there's lots of universities in London and they're all in competition with each other, and my university was desperately trying to pretend they were better than they really were, and the way they did this was they made out they had some kind of research thing going on, which they didn't, and but the result of this was that they encouraged us to write materials that were heavily influenced by academic theory, which was no bad thing. And I've continued that here at USW. Now, when I arrived at USW, I was actually a little bit shocked to find out that nobody was actually that interested in teaching theory. And when I asked, why are we doing this way? I used to get this reply that, well, this is the way we've always done it. This is what we did last year, and this is what we did the year before. There was a lot of just following textbooks. I mean, as you know, on pre-sessional, we don't use a textbook anymore. We just use our own materials. Right, and my take on this is that if you're following a textbook and you have no understanding of how this exercise you're doing from a page of a textbook fits into the student's overall learning, you're not teaching. So there is actually a point to everything we do on pre-sessional, and it all leads towards their final aim. So how does theory fit into the pre-sessional course? Now, I believe that if you're serious about being an English teacher, or especially if you're trying to put a course together, there's certain theories and methodologies and people that you should be aware of. Now, there's been lots of people who've been very influential in our field, language learning in general. People like Bruner, Piaget, Chomsky, these types of people. Now, I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that you need to go away and study these people. It's just if you're interested, obviously I am. But for me, the biggest influence on the theoretical side was somebody called Lev Vygotsky. And this is because he started something called scaffolding, which I'm going to explain to you. If somebody mentions the word scaffolding to you, I'm sure you automatically think about construction sites, and you all know what scaffolding is. It's the poles that go around the building, and the reason they're there is it allows the workmen or workwomen, work people to access the building and make it progress. In education, it's exactly the same thing. A scaffold is a support framework which we put around the students, and it allows us to push them to a higher level. Now, Lev Vygotsky was a Russian psychologist who worked in the early part of the 20th century. He died in 1934, and he was very young. He was only 37. But his thing was he was interested in how people become who they are, so what gives them their identity. And he discovered this comes from culture, and language is part of culture, so he studied language as well. Now, his main theory was that when we're ready to learn something, we've got our existing knowledge, And with the help of somebody outside, which he called a more knowledgeable other, you build on top of this. So, and then when you're ready to do that again, you build on top of that, you build on top of that, you build on top of that, and you go up. So a more knowledgeable other is just anybody that teaches you something. And this just isn't for education, it's for everything in life. So your parents are the more knowledgeable others when you're first born, predominantly your mother, because she's the one who actually teaches you things. Right, so if we put that into our context, we become the more knowledgeable others. Not too sure about the more knowledgeable bit, but we're the ones that help teach people. Now, what Vygotsky said was when students have this level of knowledge and you help them get this level of knowledge, they're in something called the zone of proximal development. Don't worry, just the name. But it's our job to, with this kind of scaffold around, to bring them up to the next level. Now, if you look at pre-sessional, you'll probably see this all over the place. So the most important thing is that people actually have this level at the bottom so that you can build on top of it. So if you look at things like topic sentences and the inference, which I've just added this year, what you'll find is that it goes from the bottom, right at the bottom. So you know our topic sentence, there are many animals in the world, one of which is a cat. Very, very easy, and that's because I want students to understand this, because unless they understand it, we can't actually build on top of it. So hopefully you'll see this all over pre-sessional. It starts at the bottom and then it allows us to scaffold and build their knowledge to the next level. So what I've noticed is that if students don't have this basic understanding, everything falls apart. And I think you can see this with reports. So in the past we've given students a model of a report and they've just gone and just dumbly copied it, and there's no understanding. I've actually changed bits of this because I'm trying to get away from people copying models. So I think we've all seen these reports where all they've done is just copied word for word what's been given in the model without any understanding whatsoever. Right, so if you look at bits of pre-sessional, the inference is a very good example. You look at this and they're childish pictures and you're probably thinking, well, hang on a minute, what use is this? These students have to go on to do masters. I honestly don't care, I'm not interested, because the thing I am interested in is the students getting this lower level of understanding, because only when they've got that level can we actually build on top of it and we scaffold and raise their level higher.